Hello everyone, welcome back and मैं हूं संतोष सर and in this video we are going to solve the assignment for June 23 exams MCO03 and I have observed that a lot of students are having problems in this chapter, so I'll be sharing the important tips on how to write the assignment of this particular chapter, and we will also discuss all the important questions which are also likely to come in your June examination. So friends, let's start the video. Before that, make sure that you have subscribed to my channel and also share it to your friends. And those who are interested to buy my study materials of important questions, you can message me on Telegram or you can contact me through email. So the link will be provided in the description box of this video. Okay, so friends, start with the first question. The first question is on research design. What is research design and what are the components of research design? See friends, when we talk about research design, as the name implies, this word design means it is a pre-planning, a systematic planning of how to do a research. It is a strategy of investigation to find the solution of the problem, and it includes all the different types of methods that the researcher will use in collecting the data. Then he has also to analyze the data. So like this, you can write a lot of points in this, and then its components. I have also you can also mention about its functions of research design, like it provides a plan of action. This one is important, to provide the boundaries or the limits of the research activity. It should not be a limitless activity. Then it also leads to identification of the potential problems that a researcher generally encounters while doing a research, and he tries to answer the various types of research related questions. Okay, this is the second part of the question. You have to write about the components or contents of the research design. Okay, a good research design should be should define the problem. What is the problem all about, and how the research is going to solve the problem, because research means you are finding a solution of a problem. Okay, so it is very important that we should define what is the problem all about, right? Then the second component is objective of the research, like why we are doing the research, what is the main object, and how it commensurate with the objectives of the company. Okay, so that it should not be a void action. The objectives of the research should match with the objectives of the organization. Then comes planning the research. How you are planning the research, designing research design. Just now I told you about this, and it is just like you have seen that the director of a movie, so वो भी वैसे ही करता है, लाइक मूवी स्टार्ट करने के पहले अपने दिमाग में ऑलरेडी एक मूवी बना लेता है, एंड अकॉर्डिंगली ही डज द शूटिंग ऑफ द मूवी. देन कम्स फॉर्मुलेशन ऑफ हाइपोथेसिस. बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स को प्रॉब्लम होती है हाइपोथेसिस को लेके. हाइपोथेसिस मीन्स ए टेंटेटिव सॉल्यूशन, एक पॉसिबल सॉल्यूशन, प्रॉब्लम का पॉसिबल सॉल्यूशन, दैट इज कॉल्ड हाइपोथेसिस. So before he conducts the research, a hypothesis should be framed by the researcher to find its probable solution, so that he can identify in what correct way he can proceed the research. Then comes the sources of data. How he will collect the data, from what sources he is going to collect, whether from primary sources or secondary sources. So like that. The next component is method of collection. How he is going to collect this data. If he is collecting from primary sources, so like there are different methods of primary sources. So like which method he should use. So like that you can write a lot of things in this point, in this particular point. Then comes analysis of data. He will analyze the data, he will group and regroup the data. Okay, and the most important data are then picked out and analysis, a scientific analysis is made on that. Then comes presentation of data. Now this is very important because the company is spending so much of time and energy on research, so it is very important that a researcher should do a good presentation of the findings or research. You know, presentation जैसे कि आप एग्जाम्स में प्रेजेंट करते हो अपने टॉपिक्स, अपने आंसर्स को, तो लाइक दैट presentation should be simple, understandable and language error free. Then comes timeliness. The research should be completed within the stipulated time frame. He should not take a lot of time in completing the research. Then comes cost of research. It should be economical. The researcher should not spend lavishly while doing the research, because every company has a particular budget of research. So like that. Okay, let's move on to question number 2. Part A, there are two parts of this question. First, explain the concept of skewness. Very common question in MCO 03. बहुत बार TE exams में ये question strike करता है. And how does it helps in analyzing the data? So this is the question. 10 marks का question है. Now skewness in statistics is the degree of asymmetry observed in the probability distribution. It tells us the direction of the distribution. Okay, so there are basically 3 types of skewness. एंड जनरली इसकी जो स्क्यूनेस की जो एक बेल शेप में एक कर्व बनती है, जिसको आप ज़रूर से लिख सकते हैं. दीज आर द 3 डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ स्क्यूनेस. द फर्स्ट वन इज सिमेट्रिकल, एज यू कैन सी हियर, सिमेट्रिकल skewed distribution. The second one is positively skewed distribution. Thirdly is negatively skewed distribution. There are certain conditions of this. In symmetrical mean median mode, all are equal. Okay, so in positively skewed, mean is greater than median and median is greater than mode. Okay, and just the reverse of this happens in negatively skewed distribution, where mean is less than median and median is less than mode. So you can also present these 3 types of skewness through this diagram. आप जितना डायग्राम बनाएंगे आपका इंप्रेशन उतना ही अच्छा होने वाला है, उतना ही अच्छा मार्क्स आपको मिलने वाला है एग्जामिनर से, राइट. सो इस चीज़ का ध्यान रखिए कि नीटली ड्राइंग आपको ड्रॉ करना है ब्लैक और ब्लू पेन से. ओके, जैसे कि आप यहाँ पे देख पा रहे हैं, दिस इज पॉजिटिव स्क्यूड, दिस इज सिमेट्रिकल वेयर मीन मीडियन मोड आर इक्वल, and this is negatively skewed. So like this you can draw a diagram of this, and you should also explain how this diagram, like what happens to mean median mode in these graphs. Then comes its application, its uses, कि skewness को हम लोग कैसे यूज़ करते हैं, कहाँ पे यूज़ करते हैं. Basically it is a descriptive statistics and which can be used along with histogram. इसका नाम आपने सुना होगा, क्लास 9-10 में हिस्टोग्राम हम लोग ड्रॉ करना सिखाते हैं बच्चों को, तो यहाँ पे ये हेल्प करता है स्क्यूनेस. देन कम स्क्यूनेस इंडिकेट्स द डायरेक्शन एंड रिलेटिव मैग्नीट्यूड ऑफ डिस्ट्रीब्यूशंस डेविएशन फ्रॉम द नॉर्मल, कि नॉर्मल डेविएशन, नॉर्मल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन से एक्चुअल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन का डायरेक्शन कैसा है, पॉजिटिव और नेगेटिव, और इट इज़ नॉर्मल. देन skewness can be used to obtain an approximate probabilities and quantiles of the distribution. Basically it is used in case of financial planning में हम लोग बहुत use करते हैं skewness को. And these are so like understanding of the skewness also helps the deviation from the mean, like how the distribution is related with the mean. So like this, let's move on to question number 2, part B. What is reporting and what are the different stages in the preparation of a report? ये क्वेश्चन भी बार बार टीई एग्जाम्स में स्ट्राइक करता है. तो it is not only that you are writing assignment, you might get these questions in the examination also. So write this properly, learn these concepts properly. These are going to be very very important. Okay. Now सबसे पहले समझते हैं what is reporting. In fact reporting हम लोग बहुत बार common sense में use करते हैं. The same thing is here. Reporting is the means of communication where information is shared through reports. In other words, reporting is communicating the facts, data, information through reports to the person for whom such facts and data are collected and compiled. That means, in simple words, reporting is passing on the information or data to the management so that they can take important decisions based on the reports. Okay. These are few characteristics of a good report. It should be accurate, it should be simple to understand, it should be reliable. All the facts, data, information should be true. It should be economical, it should be submitted in time, and it should be complete in all the respects. Everything should be included in the report, nothing should be left. Then these are the stages in the preparation, how you are going to prepare the report. First, you will identify the problem, right? Like what is the problem on which you are writing the report. Then again setting the objectives and hypothesis. Then you will collect the data, information. Then comes analyzing and then writing the final report. So these 5 stages are there in reporting. So you can write these points and explain them. Question number 3 is on comments. Okay, write a brief comment on the research has to provide answers to the research question raised. Okay, so on this topic you have to write a comment. You can write it in, these are there are it is of 20 marks question number 3. So 20 divided by 4, so that is 5 marks. So for 5 marks you can write 250 words to 350 words, that will be enough. Okay. Now as I told you just now that every research starts with a problem. If there is no problem, there cannot be a research. And the main object of the research is to find the solution of the given problem. And in finding these problems and solution, it makes, it collects data, analyze those data, and based on that, the final report is prepared. So like everything revolves around to provide the answer of a particular question. What is the question? What is the problem? And the researcher is responsible to answer all these questions which are based on the problem. So like this, इसमें आप बहुत सारी points, essay, it is a sort of essay on which you can write. The second comment is on visual presentation of data makes comparison easy. Or in other words, इस क्वेश्चन को हम लोग ऐसे भी लिख सकते हैं that what is the importance of visual presentation. Visual presentation refers to presentation of data in the forms of diagrams and graphs so that the study of an information will be more effective, more easy. So इसी के ऊपर आपको लिखना है. तो यहाँ पे जैसे मैंने लिखा हुआ है that इसके यूज़फुलनेस के बारे में मैंने लिखा है कि why these visual representation are useful, important. Firstly, it helps to make comparison. Comparison करने के लिए graph, diagrams, they are the best. Easily we can find the differences of the data. Then it helps in decision making, because when you are analyzing a problem and finding a solution, so that solution can be used for taking important decisions. Then they are easy to understand because they are in the form of diagrams. graphs. They are more attractive, a lot of colors are used, and that also that attracts our eyes. Then it takes less time and cost to prepare this visual presentation. They are error free, less errors, because you need not write language in these presentations, so grammatical mistakes are less. Then they are also useful for illiterate people. Even illiterate people can understand what is the diagram all about, and he can study the diagram easily. The next comment is the analysis of time series is of great utility not to the research worker but also to economists, businessmen and scientists. Comment on this. So you have to write about the importance of time series, how it helps the different people. So time series this is important because it helps to understand the past behavior of the variables. Then it facilitates in forecasting the future behavior of a variable. It helps in planning the future course of action. It helps in knowing the current accomplishment, your achievement, and it is also helpful in making comparison between different time series, different time periods, right? So like that you can write about time series and mention these points. Okay, the last comment is on interpretation. The interpretation of data is very difficult task and requires a high degree of skill, care, judgment and objectivity. Comment on this. So first of all, you should write about the meaning of interpretation. Okay, what is interpretation? Interpretation of data, definitely it is a very difficult task, and interpretation means it is a sort of presentation, the presentation of data, and it should be objective. It should go along with the objective of the organization. The interpreter must understand the problem well so that he can find a good solution of the problem. He or she must understand in relevance to various elements of the problem, okay, the different parts of the problem. So that should be clearly understood by the researcher. Then for a proper interpretation, relevant, adequate and accurate data must be collected, and data should be properly classified and analyzed. They should be stick to the limitations, and they should not go beyond the information or data. No space for emotions or personal data, and factual presentation and personal interpretation should be avoided, okay, because that creates confusion, right? Question number 4, you have to write short notes. The first short note is essentials of a good sample. वेरी कॉमन क्वेश्चन, बहुत बार एग्जाम्स में आया हुआ है क्वेश्चन. एक अच्छे सैम्पल या एक सैम्पल साइज का फीचर्स क्या होते हैं, कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स क्या होते हैं. सो दीज आर द मेजर कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स विच यू कैन मेंशन. ए सैम्पल मस्ट रिप्रेजेंट ए ट्रू पिक्चर ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन, बिकॉज हम लोग पॉपुलेशन से सैम्पल कलेक्ट करते हैं, एंड दैट शुड बी ट्रू, ओके, ऑथेंटिक, and it should be error free. Then it should be sample should be collected randomly. Then sample size should be large so that we can analyze the data properly. It must be accurate and complete. All the information should be mentioned in it, and then after adequate sample size must be taken for comparison. The next short note is on coding of data. Coding refers to the process by which data are categorized into groups and numerals or both, and are assigned a code, right? So this coding of data is done to facilitate the analysis of the data. Very important one. As you know, like in IGNOU we have different codes of the subject. So there are many subjects which are taught by IGNOU, and different codes are assigned to this subject so that they can easily categorize the subjects. So like this you can write about the coding of data, and it reduces the huge amount of information collected in a simple form, so that makes our analysis more clear. And basically a coding manual should be prepared with all the details of the variables, codes and instructions, and normally coding manual should be prepared before the collection of data. And some basic rules of coding should be followed while doing coding. So this point also you can mention, these 3 points. Each respondent should be given a code number, and each qualitative question should have codes, and all responses including don't know or no opinion, no response, so all these should be properly coded. The next short note is on normal distribution. Normal distribution is basically a distribution where it is symmetrical to mean, and the data near mean are more frequent. They are more regularly those data happens, and it looks like a bell shape, therefore it is also known as bell curve. Then it has a symmetrical shape, that means it can be divided into 2 equal halves. So like that, this thing is more understandable from this figure. Okay, and this middle line, this is mean, and as you can see here, both the side, this is left side and right side. Make sure that when you will draw this diagram, draw this properly so that both the sides should look equal, right? The last short note you have to write on the characteristics of a good report. Just now we have discussed this. It is more or less same, like accurate, simple, reliable, economical, timeliness, completeness. So like this, very simple question. Question number 5 is on differences. The first difference is on pilot testing and pre-testing questionnaire. As we know, questionnaire is a type of a list of questions which are generally asked to the interviewer to collect data. And in pilot testing, basically it is a process of carrying out a preliminary study going through the entire research procedure with a small sample. And it helps to assess the whole of the questionnaire. The primary benefit of pilot testing is to identify the problems before implementing it in full survey. It is a very broad concept, and it is more scientific, more systematic than pre-testing. Pre-testing is generally जैसे एक फाइनल एग्जाम्स के पहले क्लास 10 में 12 में प्री टेस्ट होता है, तो इट इज जस्ट ए सैम्पल टेस्ट. तो बेसिकली प्री टेस्टिंग इज डन ऑन ए स्मॉल ट्रायल बेसिस, and it helps to assess a part of the questionnaire only, and we just study the important questions of the questionnaire, and it is just a sample test of the questionnaire, narrow concept and not very scientific, and very less unfrequently used by the companies. The next difference is on price index and value index. Important one. Price index is a measure of how the price of the commodity changes over a period of time, whereas in value index it is a measure of how the value of the commodity changes over a period of time. Like this, price index number compares the prices of the commodities, whereas this compares the value of the commodity. And basically this price index has more applicability. It is more widely used by the companies, whereas value index is less frequently used by the companies. So like this you can write the points. The next difference is on frequency distribution and probability distribution. Frequency distribution is the representation that displays the number of observations within a given interval whereas a probability distribution is a mathematical function that describes the probability of different possibility or possible values of a variable. And frequency distribution gives the exact frequency of the data, whereas probability distribution, it gives only a probable frequency of the data. And generally we use frequency distribution when the number of frequency is very large, and in case of small distribution we use probability distribution. So like this. The next difference is large samples versus small samples. Large sample, very simple, when the sample size is more than 30, and in case of smaller samples the sample size is 30 or less than that. And we use this technique for large sample study, normal distribution, but we generally study small samples with the help of t-test, f-test or q. There are a lot of different types of tests. So I will be telling you in another video about all these different types of tests to study samples. So and the large samples include the whole of the population, whereas this include only a part of the population. And these large samples are more scientific, and they are also very complex because the company has to employ a professional researcher to carry out the research based on large samples. So like this, friends, you can write these points. And so friends, these are the questions that you should answer in this particular assignment. And again I will say, out of 30 you have to score maximum marks. So follow my instructions which I have given in this video, and a very best of luck. Thank you for watching.